I will call this meeting to order for the Corporation Township of Portsmouth on August 12th, 2020. Sorry, Courtney, did you start the recording in time or did
Yes, I got it.
you got it? Okay. And we will start with roll call. Councillor Goida,
Present.
Councillor Spoulos,
Present.
Councillor Bailey,
Present.
Councillor Balmer,
Present.
and I am present, obviously. Okay. We will begin our moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to the consent confirmation of the agenda. Ms. Whitebox.
That council approves the August 12th, 2020 agenda as circulated.
Okay, can I get a mover for that, please?
Move.
Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Goida. All in favor, Councillor Goida. Oh, you're muted by you.
Sorry. I'm sorry. In favor.
Yep, Councillor Spoulos,
In favor.
Councillor Bailey,
Yep, in favor.
Councillor Balmer,
Favor.
and I'm in favor. That's carried. Do we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest for today, general nature thereof?
I do.
I'll start with Councillor Spoulos. I'll let him go first.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I
You
have
have a hot seat.
a potential pecuniary interest, item 9.22. Council compensation benefits expense policy amendments. This report addresses my specific situation. Council decision regarding this report may be perceived as a financial gain or loss for me.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Goida.
I am declaring for items 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, and 6.9, which are all to do with support for the equitable aggregate assessment. And although I do not have a pecuniary interest in receiving the information, I do have a pecuniary interest if there is any discussion or decisions regarding the position of the township as a family member operates an aggregate in the township.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now on to the consent agenda. I believe there's a couple items that some members of council would like addressed under the consent agenda.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Balmer.
I'd like to pull out 6.19 and 6.20 if possible, please. That's rather an update from the Portsmouth Historical Society and the information about historic barns.
Okay. Anything further? Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, I'd like to pull out item 6.2, Owen Sound Resolution Support for Private Members Bill M36 Emancipation Day.
Good.
Okay, any further? No, all right. Okay, so let's do Ms. Whitebox. Can you prepare a resolution that excludes 6.5 to 6.9? Because then the five of us can. Sorry, go ahead, councillors.
Sorry, Mayor, I can receive that information. I just can't discuss it. So you don't have to necessarily take it out for a separate resolution.
Okay, that's fine then. I don't believe because nobody else nominated to be removed, then that's fine. You can receive it. Okay, so if we can have the consent agenda resolution read, but removing 6.2 and 6.19 and 6.20, and then we'll deal with those three after. Please, Ms. Whitebox.
Okay, that the consent agenda items with the exception of items 6.2, 6.19, and 6.20 listed for August 12th, 2020 council meeting be received for information.
All right, can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Bailey, and second, Councillor Spoulos. All in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor.
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Balmer,
In favor?
All right. Now we will speak of 6.2, the Owen Sound resolution. Councilor Spillis, you want to take the lead on that since you requested it to be pulled out?
Yes. I've asked staff prepare a motion in respect that we support this private members bill. Although the province of Ontario has recognized this day since 2008, the rest of the country, I think with the exception of British Columbia, do not. I think it's important that we continue on this tact in this day and age to ensure that Emancipation Day is recognized across the country. So the motion, I believe, is with our deputy clerk to read.
Ms. White Fox, would you mind reading that for us, please?
That consent agenda item 6.2 listed for the August 12th, 2020 council meeting be received, and that the Township of Portslade Council acknowledges and supports the private members bill put forward by Majid Jauhari, M-36 Emancipation Day, 43rd Parliament, first session, and that this motion be sent to our Member of Parliament, Michael Chong.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Goyda, comments?
No, I would support that entirely.
Okay, Councilor Bulmer, sorry, Councilor Bailey?
No comments, just my support as well.
And Councilor Bulmer?
Good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Okay, so can I get a mover for that resolution, please? Somebody raise their hand. Councilor Spillis. And Councilor
I'll second
Goyda seconded. Okay, Councilor Bulmer seconded. All in favor? I'm a little choppy, it says. Councilor Goyda, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. In favor.
Okay. Okay, Councilor Spillis,
In favor?
Councilor Bailey,
In favor?
and Councilor Bulmer.
In favor?
I'm in favor as well. That's carried. And then, Councilor Bulmer, do you want to take the lead on 6.19 and 6.20 to talk about the barn preservation advocacy letter?
Yeah, so the first one is 6.19, I believe, is the letter from the Portslade Historical Society. And I always appreciate these updates, and because they do a lot of good work. And I'm glad they told the story of their travels through different parts of the municipality in terms of where they were housed. You know, many may remember that they used to be in a corner of the library, and then they were moved. They got the police office in the township office. They shared it with the OPP, and we would have visitors come regularly to the township office, and documents be laid out in the council chamber. So it was good. They got members of council would see them in action regularly because, you know, anytime we went in the office, there was likely someone there using the archives. And it's nice they talk about moving into the library, which is quite a process. But I'm really glad that they mentioned the old council table that they still have there. And it made me wonder, do we still have enough members of council that actually sat around that table to fill the table? I know that we still have a clerk that sat around that table, but I wonder if we still have 5 members of council, and including a former mayor that would have served around that table. And it was an interesting thought exercise. I can think of 2 or 3 that are still around, but it also made me realize it's a great symbol that this community is able to survive change. You know, that table was there for a long time. I don't know if it's the original one. I know it was the one that was in our old township office or council chambers at the back of the community hall. But it's the one that served the township up until our current chamber. And we survived the transition. And it gives me hope that when we talk about further changes in the township, that this community has been able to weather several changes over its life. And some people look at historic symbols as just a point in the past, but I like to think of them as reminding us that things can change and we can survive change. So I appreciate that letter from the Historical Society.
Any further comments on that? Okay, Councilor Bulmer, you can continue with 6.20.
So 6.20, I thought it'd be very interesting. This is a letter, I think, or correspondence, I think it'd be helpful to share with our Planning Advisory Committee, as well as our Heritage Committee. They talk about issues that I think our Planning Committee has dealt with very well. And I think not only it'd be good for them to see that some of the things they've been thinking of or our planning staff have been recommending, are seen as best practices in some areas or in the planning realm, but also it talks about other alternatives. And so I just think it's an educational piece for both those committees to have on maybe their next agenda.
Yeah, I also felt that it might be prudent to forward this on to the county planning division for comment.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
If any of this is on their radar. I mean, they basically set the rules that we play by. So those would be my comments. I saw Councillor Spoulos raise your hand. You have a comment too?
Yes, it was on the PDAC's agenda last night, so we did see it, Councilor Blumer. Thank you for that thought, however.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. Good. Congratulations to staff for thinking of that ahead of time then, or the chair of the committee for requesting it.
Good job, Councillor Spoulos. Any further comments on that? Mr. Schwendinger, would we need a resolution to push this up to the county, or is just direction from us to staff is fine?
Yeah, it'd be best to have a resolution. So for 619, I believe we could just receive that one for information after Councillor Bulmer spoke to that, just receive that for information. But 620, yeah, just say forward a copy to the county, and then both of the committees that he referred to, and one of those has been done already, but we can just have the resolution saying that.
Okay, Ms. White.
Okay, so I'll do 6.19 first. So that consent agenda item 6.19 listed for the August 12th, 2020 council meeting be received for information.
Oh,
Like Mayor Sealy left us.
did we lose a connection?
I can still hear everybody but him. We'll just wait a moment, see if he can log back in. I just sent him a quick message.
May I ask a question of the CAO?
Sure.
In the event there is an issue, do we, which member of council is in line to step in for the mayor this month? Do you recall? I don't have my list in front of me.
I do. It's me for the month of August.
Okay. Thanks, John. Or thanks, Councillor Sapoulos.
You're welcome, Councilor Bowman.
I'm just on the line in through email with him, and he's in the process of trying to log in again. Just 1 second.
That's good. Can you hear me, gals, people?
We hear you, James.
Yep.
Yes, Susan.
Sorry, my internet. Sorry.
Okay, I just sent him another message saying it's not working, so I don't know what.
You could just read receive the information, please.
Sorry, Mayor, you just want me to read the resolution for 6.19 one more time?
There, did I lose you?
Can you say something again?
I'm gone.
Yeah, it's really not working, Mr. Mayor.
Hello? Me now?
That's better.
How about now? Oh, I don't know, just lost you guys.
Yeah, let's try that.
You guys there?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, let's go, quick. 6.19 resolution for information, please. Courtney.
That the consent agenda item 6.19 listed for August 12th, 2020 council meeting be received for information.
Perfect. Can I get a mover for that, please?
I'll move.
Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Balmer. All in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
Favor?
Councillor Balmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And then Ms. White-Fox, if you could read a resolution for 6.20, requesting that we ask the appropriate planning staff at the county for comments, and for this, the appropriate committees, one which has already been done, but the two committees that Councillor Balmer mentioned, please.
Sure. That the consent agenda item 6.20 listed for August 12th, 2020 council meeting be received, and that agenda item 6.20 Ontario Barn Preservation Advocacy Letter to municipalities be forwarded to the County of Wellington planning staff, the Puss Lynch Heritage Committee, and the Puss Lynch Planning Development Advisory Committee for consideration.
Okay, can I move for that, please? Councillor Spoulos, Councillor Goida, you gonna second that?
Sure.
All right, all in favor, Councillor Goida? See you,
In
and
favor.
I'm ready to go. Councillor
In
Spoulos?
favor.
In favor?
All right, Councillor Bailey,
Favor?
Councillor Balmer?
Favor.
I'm in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. All right, so next is delegations. Mr. Van Gerwen, I don't know if you can call him a Mr. yet. I think he's a younger individual, but this arose from a handwritten note that I received with a little petition, and it was my belief that I scanned all the signatures, because I think there was a mention that everybody on the street had signed the petition. So if they're not all there, there is potential it's in my other office upstairs and I have it, so I'll take a look for that. But you know, traffic and speeding is a concern across the entire township. And initially I was quite supportive of trying to put some sort of mitigation efforts on Borum, because, well, Jessica, you live in that area. I know a couple individuals that live on the road, and apparently if there's people stopped, like numerous people stopped at the stop signs, they kind of use it as a shortcut to, you know, not wait their turn at the stop sign. And then they're racing through there, so that's a concern. But then through further discussions with our CAO, there's a better method to go about identifying these traffic concern areas. And Mr. CAO, would you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Sure. typically with requests like this, what's good to do is have a set of criteria or have a set parameters as to when something like this is done, so that council can have an indication as to where these types of requests would be installed and where they wouldn't, where certain thresholds are met in terms of traffic speeds and volumes and things. So what we would recommend is, as council is aware, we're proposing to do a transportation study or transportation master plan for the entire township road network for next year. And this would be one of the aspects that would be included, is if we do have a situation, what's the best way to deal with it? And what would the threshold be for traffic volumes, traffic speeds, and those kinds of things for when an installation like this would take place. So that would be our suggestion, is to have it as a component under consideration for the whole transportation master plan.
Okay. So after that, I'll open up to council for any comments. Councilor Goyda.
Yeah, I just, I guess I just wanted to first off take a moment and say thank you to young Mr. Oliver Van Gerwen for writing the letter. He also took the time to come and speak to me in person about his concern. And I was very impressed. He was very well spoken and proficient in speaking on the topic. And he put a lot of work into to get the other residents on the street to sign. So I think he's watching today. And I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for bringing up your concern. This is very close to home for me, and in terms of installing the speed bumps on Borum Drive, I actually, similar to what you said, Mayor Sealy, I do think it's a good idea because it wouldn't just benefit those that live on Borum Drive, but pretty much everyone in the hamlet, because many people use that road to walk and bike, and obviously to get to the Borum Drive Park as well. But my hesitation, like you said, is because we've had so many concerns, especially over the past couple months about speeding. I'm sure that if once we put speed bumps here on Borum Drive, there will be many other requests coming as well on residential streets for speed bumps, and it is important that we have that threshold. So I would like to see, as part of that transportation study, that the use of speed bumps or traffic calming just in general is looked at for Borum Drive and for other residential streets in the community. But I do hope that at some point in time we'll come to a resolution to give some kind of relief to those people cutting through on Borum Drive, because it is it can be quite hazardous for people walking on that road.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Spillis.
Yes, I had the pleasant occasion to speak to Oliver as well. I actually called him up, and I echo Councilor Goyda's assessment of Oliver. He's a fine young man. He's perhaps a future mayor, Mayor Sealy. So the competition for the future there.
How many years do I have until he runs against me?
Yes.
12?
6.
Yes.
Okay, I got 6 years.
I agree with the assessment. We need an overall plan. In the previous council, there was a lot of concern about similar things occurring in your neck of the woods, Mayor Sealy, along Ox. People go along 36 and cut across over to Queen Street, back and forth in both rush hours. So I agree. The question I have for the CEO, is this the same study that you're alluding to further on in the report, or would this be a separate study that we'd be budgeting separately?
I believe the funds that are referenced in the report prepared by our treasurer, those are for components of the study. So to do the overall master plan, what you would require is traffic volumes, traffic speeds. You'd need an engineer's assessment of the current road conditions and profiles, things like that. And then that is all the input data that is put together to the consultant, and then that's what they use for the overall transportation master plan. So that funding isn't for the master plan, but it's for the key components that will support the preparation of the master plan.
Okay, so will you bring that forward as part of the 2021 budget process?
That's correct, yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. Yeah, I've played a little bit of phone tag with Oliver, so I didn't get to connect with him, but I really appreciate him sending this note in as well. I guess Mr. CEO kind of answered my question already. My big question was, we are getting a lot of these different requests in to the township. And I was just wondering about trying to have a streamlined system where we can kind of already have something in place that's pre-approved. So when we get all these different requests, we're not kind of scrambling and saying we need to wait and let's do a study. And, you know, so I think it sounds like what's coming will be some studies that'll then have things recognized and we'll have then sort of a go-to. So I look forward to having a good process in place.
Thank you. Mr. Bulmer?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand what Councillor Bailey was saying there, but I think if I capture the essence of it, it may have been something I was going to request or ask was, well, first I'll start about young Oliver. Yes, I had an opportunity to speak with him on the phone as well. Very well spoken, and to his credit, persistent. He was very focused on the solution he wanted, and I think it's quite possibly the solution. But I agree with what I've heard previously in that we want to make sure it is the right solution, and we want to make sure it achieves the objectives. So I guess the question I'd have with the CAO would be, in terms of the traffic master plan, that put in place thresholds that would allow us to deal with these things proactively as well. So they wouldn't be essentially political decisions because someone wants it, they get it. It would be staff would be aware of sort of changing patterns and be able to put things in place before we get the request to do it. It's sort of to prevent a problem as opposed to reacting after there is a problem. Would that be correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I'd fully support what I've heard so far in terms of moving ahead, making sure this is one of the items that is dealt with in that master plan. And hopefully it can be one of the first items we address if it comes out with a major problem, because it's good to know what the absolute problem is and that we're doing the right fix. So thank you.
Thank you. I unfortunately did not get to speak with Oliver personally. I sent an email back, I called, we did not connect. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to his opponent in the next election, but that's fine. One day we'll meet. But you know, just for some more explanation to Oliver, you know, we have to go through this process, and it may seem frustrating, but one thing that council, from what I'm understanding, doesn't want to do is do things piecemeal across our municipality. What we do is we want to set a process in place, and that's going to take some time, so we apologize for that. But we have a lot of community groups coming to us asking for reduced speed limits, and we have to justify these things. So I would just keep your head high, keep doing the good work you're doing, and don't worry, we've heard you, and we won't let this one slip through the cracks. We'll make sure there's some resolution for you down there. Mr. CAO, is the transportation master plan already in the works, or is this something proposed? Do we need a resolution to identify that after the road study that we do implement a transportation master plan, or is that something you'll bring forward in the budget?
That's something that we're going to bring forward in the budget. So in terms of the delegation, so that we can keep track of what the request would be, my suggestion would be to receive it for information and then forward the request to budget committee. And then that way it'll be tracked through that process, and it'll be a to-do item on the task list for our budget committee as well.
Perfect.
That'd be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. So can I get Ms. Whitefox to read out the resolution for that, please?
That the written delegation from Oliver Van Gerwen be, with respect to safety concerns on Boreham Drive, be received, and that the request be forwarded to the budget committee for consideration for the 2021 budget.
Thank you. Can we move for that, please?
Again.
Councillor Bailey, and I'll take Councillor Goyda as a seconder, and then I'll go all in favor. Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
and I'm in favor as well. That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Appreciate your work down in ARCO. Okay, so number 8, we have public meetings scheduled for later this evening. So it's August 21st, 2020, public meeting held by electronic participation at 7 p.m. It's the Course Garden Suite application, 7677 Wellington Road 36. The purpose and effect of the application is to amend the Township of Portland New Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 23/2018, rezone the lands to permit a garden suite. And we also have the Gallo zoning amendment application, same time, same place. For 4010 concession 7 is the location of the zoning amendment. Purpose and effect of the application is to amend Township of Portland New Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 023/2018 to rezone the lands from agricultural to agricultural site specific zone to permit an agricultural service and supply establishment. All right, and now we're on to reports. We will do the first one. So we have finance, FIN 2020 032 Municipal Asset Management Program grant. Just asking the Director of Finance if she has anything she'd like to give a synopsis of this report, or
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor Sealy. So basically the purpose of the report is to obtain a council resolution for the seeking of the funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities under the Municipal Asset Management Program. Before we are able to submit a grant application, we need a council resolution adopted by council. And Ms. Hoyt-Fox can read out the council resolution whenever council's prepared, and I can answer any questions that council has.
sure, I'll have Ms. Fox read that resolution, please.
That report FIN 2020-032 regarding the Municipal Asset Management Program grant be received, and that council directs staff to apply for a grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for the reporting of conditions and traffic volumes of the township's road network, and that the Township of Puslinch commits to conducting the following activities in its proposed project submitted to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program to advance the township's asset management program. 1, completion of roads traffic volume study. 2, completion of roads condition index study. And that council approves funding of $62,500 funded as $12,500 development charges and $50,000 municipal asset management grant program funded towards the cost of this initiative, and that council's approval of the funding be conditional upon receipt of the municipal asset management grant program funding.
So fortunate that you have to read those instead of me. Thank you. I'll get a mover in a second, and then we'll have conversation around it. So can I get a mover for that, please? Councilor Lewis, seconder. Councilor Bailey. Okay, so Councilor Gorda, any questions or comments on that?
I don't have any objection to this at all. I just want to clarify, and I think this has been answered when we were speaking about the delegation, but the traffic volume study and the roads index study that would be done if this grant is approved would then form the supporting information required in order to complete the transportation plan, which would be part of the 2021 budget discussions to move forward with it. Is that correct? We need one to do the other. Am I understanding that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So just to circle back to the issue of speeding, the transportation plan, which would be done after these 2 studies, part of that transportation plan addresses speed limits and traffic calming and those kinds of things, but also other decisions that would have to be made in terms of the roads. Like, I've never gone through a transportation plan before, so I just want to understand what, I guess, problems that or what answers that gives us that we don't have already.
Okay, I can take a shot at answering that for you, Councillor Goida. Basically, what the Transportation Master Plan then will provide you is an overall management tool to how to manage your road network so that you can plan for your future maintenance costs, kind of as outlined in the asset management plan, in terms of what roads you choose to upgrade, what roads you choose to keep in gravel, which ones you choose to pave, those types of things, what the areas are that would need to have total reconstruction, which are so to identify which roads are ready for asphalt, which ones are not, Then it would look at, in terms of the transportation flow, where we would have truck routes, you know, what the traffic flow is coming from neighboring communities through our community, through urban areas, through industrial areas, how they get to the transportation route. So all of those things to see how that all fits together in terms of transportation. It would also look at speed zones. What's the current speed limit? Does it make sense how it's set? Is there a way to refine it? And if we would refine it, what would the impacts of that be? And if we reduce the speed limit in certain areas, what would the recommendation be? Where would it be located, and those types of things?
Okay. So it encompasses everything.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You hear me? Am I gone? Councillor Spillis?
Yes, a question of the CEO. This grant we're applying for would allow us to do the road geometry. In other words, determine what the safe operating speed is on that road?
I'd have to look at what the breakdown is between, because the total there is for both studies, is to what the breakdown would be as to what level of detail they could go into. It may, but if they don't, we would still need to gather that information as part of the roads master plan. So it's either going to be collected, it will be necessary for the overall master plan, but it'll either be collected through this funded one, or it would be part of the one that we would fund ourselves.
Yeah, and the other comment I have is it's good that we're doing condition index study, pavement index study, because right now we're estimating a deterioration rate of 2 percentage points per year. And if it's less than that, then we can stretch out our asset management plan. In other words, we won't hit the CRE thresholds as early.
Or it could go the other way. It could be.
I think 2% is very conservative, Mayor.
Yeah. Just from my understanding, you know, these are two different reports, and the transportation master plan wouldn't be written entirely from the information that we received from doing this study on our roads. Just some of that information could be used in the transportation master plan, and when we go through the budget process in 2021, we'll have to look at those numbers to see how much of this initial study can be used to build the transportation master plan. So you're gonna have to think of them running in parallel, not you know, they're two different entities, and we're doing them for two different reasons. Is that safe to say, Mr. CAO? There we go.
Yes,
Am I good?
yeah,
Oh.
that's correct. I just lost my pointer there. Yeah, that's correct. But you can't really do the master plan without that input data from the other studies that we're talking about. So
Right. Okay. Where are we? Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, no, not a lot of comment. I just am looking forward to getting some of these studies done so that we can move on with, well, the road conditions, but also from a safety perspective, you know, where we can kind of fit some of this data into some of the safety zones and whatnot. So I think that's why we were trying to figure out if we could use some of the grant money to put toward a safety component. So.
Okay. All right, Councillor Bulmer.
No additional questions. Thank you.
Okay. For a question for Mr. CEO, we had a delegation, gosh, time flies too fast. I don't remember if you were at the helm yet or not, but from concession 4, and there was a request to reduce the speed limit down from its current 80 to 60. And I'm wondering if that means that request will maybe unfortunately be put on hold until completion of the roads master study, or are we still moving forward with that request?
it would be our recommendation to hold off on that until you can see what the implications are going to be everywhere else, because experience has shown is if you do it in one road without looking at the overall impact in neighboring roads, it simply migrates traffic one side road or concession over, and then you create problems. You know, you just move the problem one road over. So it would be best to do it as part of the overall municipality.
Okay. And we've discussed when we want to have certain options for the municipality investigated, would that best be brought up once it's past the budget process and we're going to do the master plan? Would that be the appropriate place for that?
That's correct. Yeah. So when we're developing the scope of work for the master plan, we will make sure to list all the various aspects that we've been talking about today.
I know, I believe each one of us has an idea that would help the municipality, and I have a couple, so
Sure.
I just
Yep.
wanted to know when the appropriate time to relay them to staff, so that's great.
Yep.
Okay. Now I've lost where I was. So that was the first one, so we got a mover and a seconder for that. Any further comments before I call vote? None? All right, all in favor? Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
Yep, in favor.
Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. That's carried. And now we're going to go on to the report that John has decided to exclude himself from. And that's report finance 2020-033. And we have the Director of Finance still on the line. Maybe she can give us a bit of a synopsis on this one as well, please. Mary?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I'm muted. So the purpose of the report is to provide council with some comparator municipality information as it relates to our group benefit program, specifically termination ages associated with those benefits. And it's also to amend the council compensation benefits and expense policy as it relates to changes made under the Municipal Act, which were effective January 1st, 2019. So the report summarizes some of those changes. I don't have anything specific to add, but if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so we'll open it up to Councillor Goida.
Sorry. I don't really have any specific questions. I just, in terms of, I think you're looking for direction on the termination age associated with the coverages. And given that Manulife has provided a quote resulting in no additional premium costs to extend those benefits to a maximum age of 75, it would make sense to me that we would change the termination age associated with that coverage to age 75 for both council and eligible employees. That would be my read on it.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, no comments on that.
Councillor Bulmer.
Thank you. Yes, I concur with Councillor Goida on her comments. I do have a couple of questions, I guess. One is, very glad you included that comparative chart. Can you, the information that's there for Guelph Aramasa, is that suggesting they're self-insuring those costs?
Sorry, Councillor Bulmer, are you referring to the members of council column?
Oh, I think so. There was $1,200, or was it $1,500? Is that the municipality provides? That wasn't it didn't seem like it was an insurance premium.
Sorry, Councillor Bulmer, that was for Centre Wellington. They have a healthcare spending account of $1,500 per calendar year. So they get an allocation of $1,500 per calendar year.
So that means that they're self-insuring their members of council.
It's a health spending account, Matt. Sorry, Mary. We just had this instituted at the fire hall. We have a health spending account. And so when you retire at the fire hall, you get 5 years of city benefits, then you're cut off. But now you get this health spending account, which then you can go purchase your own private benefits, or you can just go, you can use your $1,200 on massage, you can use it on glasses. So essentially it's what you're saying, Matthew, but really, I believe you have the discretion on how you want to spend your health spending account.
So they submit health expenses directly to the municipality, and the municipality reimburses for that amount, up to that amount?
That part I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Bulmer, I also don't know the specifics around that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, you might get the $1,500 and go to the movies. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Risk your health, but I'm not sure.
All right. So the other thing, I was looking at the chart, it really stood out that we were the only ones getting this, and it made me, cast my mind back to the dark ages when the earth was cooling, when we voted to give these benefits to members of council. And at the time, I believe the council salary was somewhere in the range of $6,000 a year, maybe 6.5 or 7, plus a meeting stipend. So our total salary could be anywhere from, depending on how many meetings you went to, it was 12 to 14,000 a year. And it certainly wasn't this much for what we're spending now on benefits. So I wondered, maybe it's a separate resolution, but I wondered if it'd be possible during our next budget process just to revisit this, to make sure that since we're out of step, it seems to be we're out of step with our comparators or our neighbors in the county, just to make sure that, the rationale for providing it to council in the first place is still valid, in terms of, because our salary structure has changed here in the township, and maybe I'd like to revisit this primarily for educational purposes as part of the budget process. But for today's purposes, I'm perfectly content. I support the suggestion of extending the benefits, the benefit age. So.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Goyda, I was trying to pull up my notes on this, and you mentioned that there's part of the report that recommends going to 75. Is that what you were saying?
I maybe should double check this with Mary, because now I'm trying to find it back.
Yeah, sorry, I can just confirm that, Councillor Goyda, you're correct. That quote that we received from Manulife was to extend to 75, and it would result in no premium increase.
Okay, so I'm gonna chime in here. I don't believe there should be an age limitation on the benefits. We're actually pretty fortunate that, sorry, Councilor Lewis, but fortunate we have a very young council. A lot of councils are in John's demographic, all of them, so dinosaurs. But I'm just kidding. But I can do that. But no, I don't believe that we should have an age limit on the benefits. I posed the question to staff that if we're able to purchase the benefits, then it should be, if you're an employee of the municipality, then you're entitled to the benefits. And I understand there could be some repercussions across other departments. But other than being on council, not many workers stay to 70. It is what it is, to quote somebody else. But being a firefighter and when you're 70 years old is a tough go. So generally, it's only going to affect the members of council. So it's almost a bit of a discrimination item, discriminating against somebody who's older. So that's where my concerns are. And unfortunately, Matthew, I don't want to support the idea of revisiting whether benefits are, proper for council now, because on the flip side of that coin, you have members of this council who are privately employed and they have self-employed husbands, and then they have young families, and the purchasing power of the municipality for benefits far exceeds anything that they can get on their own. So it'd be quite detriment. I know one individual on this council was very, very excited to have benefits again for their children. So I think that's within the means of our municipalities to continue to provide them. However, I would like an answer as to if Manulife or Sun Life or whoever the supplier is, if they maybe don't provide coverage past a certain age, then that would be the end of the coverage. But as long as the member we can purchase the policy, I believe it should just carry on without a new prescription. So, Mr. CAO, do you have an answer for that? If they can purchase insurance past 70 and 75?
I do not at this time. I don't know, Mary, do you have that information, or is that something we should look into?
Manulife had indicated that it will take them a few days to have an answer on that.
Is there, around this council, is there a flavor to just remove the age stipulation on condition that Manulife can provide the coverage? Let's have a quick conversation with that. So, Councilor Goyda.
I think it would be good to know that information before we make that decision. I do think, though, well, I'm not sure, but perhaps if we did extend it to 75, I don't think that there would be anyone excluded at this point in time. So I'm not sure if it makes sense to change it to the age of 75, and once we have that information, look at it again, or if it makes more sense just to wait until we have that information as to what, is there an additional cost to consider and what that might be if we're extending it past that age of 75. I mean, I don't disagree that it should go on until the termination of either council or employment. But it would be good to know that information ahead.
Okay. Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I like what Councilor Goyda just said. Yeah, I would be in favor of extending it. It would just be good to know the cost associated with it.
Councilor Bulmer?
Yeah, I figure let's deal with the question before us today. Let's extend it to 75, and that gives us, I'm going to guess, 5 years to get the next answer. But in the meantime, if we get that other information, we'll just remove the limit. And but at least today we can make a decision and put this thing to bed and address the situation, the question that's before us today.
Okay. So well, we have a resolution for that. We can just have it extended to 75. Can I read the resolution for that, please?
That report
And
FIN 2020-033 regarding council compensation benefits and expense policy be received, and that council enact a bylaw attached as Schedule A to report FIN 2020-033 to adopt the council committees and other appointments, compensation benefits and expense policy, and to repeal bylaw number 012-2018, and that council directs staff to change the termination age associated with the Manulife coverages outlined in report FIN 2020-033 for members of council and eligible township employees, excluding long-term disability, age 75.
Okay, can you move for that, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Goyda, seconder. Councilor Bailey? I have a
Yeah.
couple other questions for the director before we vote this in. In this report, it makes mention that it excludes the mayor from the benefit package because they're covered by the county. But historically, and it's only been the last two mayors that have opted to not have those extended health cares. And I want to ensure that anyone that precedes me has the option to enroll in these benefits if they're so desire. Just the way it's worded, it appears that now the mayor is excluded from benefits from the township. Was that the intent of the report?
No, Mayor Sealy. So that clause was there from before, and it's just in terms of future staff or council understand that that is where the mayor is covered, and it's an expense that the township doesn't have to incur.
Okay, because I just know that I have my wife's benefits, my benefits, and I've opted out of Coast benefits and the county benefits. I just didn't want to do a detriment to the mayors that follow me, make sure that's still an option to them. And I believe this T2200 form is in the same report. Is that not correct? Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor Sealy, that's correct.
I
Mr.
just
Chair,
find, oh, yes, sir.
could just one friendly amendment to the motion to address your interest in removing the age limit. Could we add another whereas at the bottom, one direction to staff to explore the cost of that and report back in the future? So
Whereas, which cost? The cost of going past 75?
yes, as you,
Yeah.
which I think we all support. It's just,
Yeah.
I was suggesting we move on today's resolution today and direct staff to get that information and come back with it in the future.
Sure. I'm comfortable with that. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay, we'll vote on that momentarily, but I want to get back to this T2200 form. The process I went through the county when trying to get this form signed is they asked me for a declaration of the percentage that I worked from home, and that is equated to more than 50% of then in the office, which is, in my opinion, easily done. But also all they did is provide a list of exclusions that cannot be claimed because they're already reimbursed from the township. And I find that our policy is kind of goes beyond that, and we have to write in and explain what we're going to be claiming to the CRA. Is that not the jurisdiction of the CRA to you know, to have the oversight of that form and determine whether or not what we're claiming is appropriate?
So the documentation that's provided in this report, it was developed not by myself, but with the County of Wellington's Treasury and Human Resources departments. And it was just customized a little bit based on what the township's policy is for council expenses and compensation. The reason why the form is detailed the way it is because it's important that council makes that declaration as to what their percentage of duties at home are as a member of council. And so this was just made in coordination with the County of Wellington. I know that they plan to report on this in the future through their policy process. So if there are changes made through that process in the future, I will report back to council.
Okay, I'd like it to be, okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, so all in favor. So Ms. White Fox, did you catch that amendment just to get costing on not having an age limit versus a cap of 75? For those,
Yes.
kind of help
Yes,
us?
I've captured that in the amended resolution.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So all in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Balmer,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. That's carried. All right, welcome back, Councillor Schools.
Thank you.
All right, now on to Finance 2020-034. Ms. Hassan, you.
Yeah, so the purpose of this report is to basically outline proposed changes to the user fees and charges bylaw and to obtain direction from council to proceed with holding a public meeting on September 16th at 7:00 p.m. I would welcome any questions from council at this time.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Goyda,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Councillor Schools.
Yes, I have a question with respect to this $100 charge. In principle, I agree with a $100 charge, but my concern is that perhaps when there's extraordinary costs, such as a developer hires uses our consultants to the tune of an excess of $20,000 type of thing. There's a lot of work that staff undertake to process the payments, I would think, and I don't think $100 covers that. My suggestion is put a cap on 100, sure, but put a dollar limit on that, and after that, put a percentage of fees.
Okay. Mr. CEO, did you want to discuss that? I had some similar concerns before, and you explained it pretty well to me.
Well, Mary, did you want to maybe talk about how you came up with the $100?
Yeah, so we had a similar fee structure in the Public Works Department for many years now for third-party cost recovery. And so the $100 administration fee was recommended just so that we were consistent with the Public Works Department. I'm not sure if there would ever be any circumstances where the amount of third-party consultant fees would reach such a high limit, but I'm not sure if other staff want to add to what I've already indicated.
It potentially could. The instances wouldn't be that that often, I wouldn't think. Some municipalities set a flat rate like this, but some, like Councillor Sprulis, you mentioned, they do have a percentage. You know, the consultants invoice plus 10%, 20%, whatever it might be. And our Director of Finance's recommendation was to go with the $100 one. Maybe we try the $100 for now. Like I said, this isn't one that we anticipate utilizing a lot, but it's important to have for the odd instance when we do need it, that it is there. And if that is considered to be a concern, or we find it to be a concern, maybe we could bring it back to council next year or something and say maybe we suggest to increase that or change that fee structure in some way.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to see that. Yeah, I'd like to see that. If we can at least try it, Councillor Sprulis, and staff prefer you.
I'm fine with the response, Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Balmer.
No questions. Thank you.
I have one. It's well, I might have more than one. It's in regards to the entrance permit and the entrance permit farm, entrance permit temporary. And I noticed that a lot of the other member municipalities retain a deposit, and that deposit typically is in an amount that would cover the removal of say a temporary driveway that they wouldn't remove, and or if they installed a permanent entrance incorrectly, that staff could go out and replace the culvert. So I would like to see a deposit required on those entrance permits. You know, the county just recently did that at the road, I believe it was at the roads committee, instituted about $1,000 deposit. And you know, as long as you install it correctly and remove it in a timely fashion, you get your money back. So just wonder if there's any discussion on that. Councilor Goyda? Well, actually, you know what? I'll go to the Director of Finance first.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Mary, maybe you could comment. What are your thoughts on, you know, requesting a deposit for those two?
So the township has been trying to avoid using deposit structures just because of the significant amount of time required to track that information. We have been using more flat fees, and it is, I don't know the specific issues around it, but perhaps CAO or other staff can add to this. However, we are trying to get away from using deposits just because of all of the time that it requires to appropriately track and then disperse the funds. And that's my comment as it relates to the deposits.
Mr. Fowler, how do you find entrance permits within the municipality? Are they compliant 99% of the time, and you know the deposit would be, you know, a moot point?
Most of the time that they are compliant. Not very often have I have any recollection of non-compliance and someone leaving a driveway in. Usually removed if asked.
Okay, you're good. I'm good. All right. I know that we talked about it at the county, and then I saw it here, so I thought it might be worth a discussion. But sounds like it's not needed. Checking my notes. No. Okay. So remind me, Ms. White-Fox, did I get a mover and seconder for that already? For that report?
No, I haven't read the resolution and we don't have the mover and seconder yet.
Okay, would you mind reading the resolution, please?
That report FIN 2020-034 regarding the 2021 proposed user fees and charges be received, and that staff report back on the non-resident rental surcharge applicable for Plisslanch Community Center rentals and its impact on revenues as part of the 2022 user fees and charges review, and that council directs staff to proceed with holding an electronic public meeting on September 16th, 2020 at 7 p.m. to obtain public input on the proposed user fees and charges bylaw as outlined in Schedule A to report FIN 2020-034, and that staff report back to council with the results of the public meeting.
Perfect. Can I get a mover? Councilor Bulmer?
I'll move it.
Get a seconder? Councilor Spoulos? All in favor? Councilor Goyda?
In favor.
Councilor Spoulos?
In favor?
Councilor Bailey?
In favor?
Councilor Bulmer?
Yes, in favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. All right, now we're on to administrative department. We have report ADM 2020-027 Bill 197. Whose portfolio does that fall under?
I'll speak to this one.
Perfect.
Okay. As outlined in the report, the province has passed legislation as part of the COVID Recovery Act that impacts a long list of other pieces of legislation. So the purpose of this report is not to go through all those. A number of us are still going through and assessing what the changes are and what the implications might be for municipalities. So right now we're just focusing on a couple of things that we think would apply at this time. And then that's why we're making the recommendation. So the first one, they made amendments to allow electronic meetings to take place outside of an emergency. That's something that's been sought after by municipalities for many years. The province has always objected to that, but now people are seeing the value in it. So whether it's a snowstorm or an ice storm or whatever, you do have that ability to host meetings virtually if you have that choice outside of an emergency declaration. So our recommendation as staff would be to direct staff to bring back some proposed wording for the procedure bylaw to enable that. The second one, another one is to amend our procedural bylaw for electronic delegations to participate. So it would kind of, in looking at the delegation we received today, it was just the electronic version. They could then participate electronically as well. So that's one that we're recommending you move forward with at this point. And then the last one that we're just seeking direction today is on the whole issue of proxy voting. We attached a document prepared by the province outlining what the proxy is and if you're interested in that or not. So if we could just get direction from you on that, and then we could bring all this forward to you for the next meeting in council. But with regards to all the other pieces of legislation there's many groups and associations going through all those. So we don't have the information to tell you what the impacts are right now, but we're working on it.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Councillor Goyda.
Thank you. I just have one question about the change to permit delegates to participate electronically. Is the intention for that to be only during a state of emergency if the council meeting is being held electronically, or is the intention that, at some point in time we're going to have in-person council meetings again, that delegates could then participate electronically that way as well?
That's an option that we're going to look at to see how logistically we could make that work. So I can't answer that for you right now, but that's one of the things that we look into. Would it be either or both? We'd have to look at that. And then one of the other parameters we'd be looking at too that I don't think I mentioned in the report is if it's an electronic participation, is it all of council or one? Right. So like what if one member just said, oh, I wanted to stay home today and participate at home? Is that something you'd want? Like, is it all or none? So those types of things we're going to present as options to you to consider when we bring it back.
Okay, but you don't need a decision on that today.
No, just do you want us to pursue this and bring it back to you with options is what we're looking for today.
Oh, okay, all right, sounds good. And then in terms of the proxy voting, are you wanting a decision on that today, or are you bringing that back as well?
That one I'd like to get a sense from you if you're even interested in it or not. I know there's been a number of discussions around the county as well, and I haven't heard of anyone who's been supportive of it yet, but that's your guys' call.
That was going to be my initial thought, is that it's for our council, which is so small, it's probably not necessary, but I mean, emergencies do happen. And I was curious to know if you had any indication from other municipalities in terms of what they're doing. But for myself personally, my first thought would be that it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, with respect to delegations by the public by electronic means, I'm in favor of that. When we're as well having electronic meetings, but once we're off that, I would suggest we go back to the way it is. With respect to the one or none by electronic means, I would prefer to be all or none. The logic being is you can see the difficulty we're having today with one person, and if we have everybody in attendance at a live meeting and we have one person who goes electronically, the meeting is going to be as fast as that person has electronic communication link. So I would rather have it either we're all in the same boat or none of us. And then with respect to the proxy vote, my thought process is I don't believe it's necessary. Certainly we can look at it, but I don't think it's necessary.
Thank you, Councillor Spoulos. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, in terms of everyone participating electronically or not, the only benefit I see to being able to choose is if, for some reason the one person can't attend in person, you can still move on with the meeting.
Quorum.
So it might delay the time of the meeting duration, but you can still move on with the meeting at least. So we can talk about that. And the proxy vote, that was going to be a question of mine. I don't kind of see why you would need a proxy vote if you can do an electronic meeting. And with council, I don't know if that's necessary. So.
Councilor Bowman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start with the electronic delegations. Just want to clarify, I thought one of the things we were looking for today, what I heard in the CAO's comments was he was looking for to make an amendment today, that we'd approve an amendment today that would allow electronic delegations, you know, for our next meeting, sort of right away. In our current state of emergency, would be the one thing we're looking for direction on today, or approval for today, and then direction on post state of emergency electronic delegations. Would that be correct, Mr. CAO?
We can do it either way, whichever way council prefers. We could bring all these back as one for the next meeting, or we could do the electronic delegation in place for the current situation to enable someone to be a delegation if they wanted to at the next council meeting. So we could do that now as well.
It's just because Councillor Sapoulis made an excellent point where electronic delegations in this current state is reasonable, but once we're in the other, back in the other state, we wouldn't. So if there's no panic, if there's no need to move ahead quickly on the electronic delegations, I don't mind dealing with them all together. So then let me go through them all then. Electronic delegations, I concur with Councillor Sapoulis. I think he captured that very well. Everybody's in the same boat in terms of delegations. I think it's beneficial. Notwithstanding the fact that we made a request of the province to accept electronic delegations from us, so we wouldn't have to travel to them. It seems like it would only be reasonable we should accept electronic delegations if people can't get to us. But still in all, I think our community is small enough that it's not as significant travel. So I think that's a reasonable position that Councillor Sapoulis has stated there. On with regard to all or none, I think Councillor Bailey has touched on something there that I agree with Councillor Sapoulis. It could be a problem, but I could support seeing unless quorum depended on it. In order to make quorum for a special situation that we needed to have a person attend by electronically, I think that would be a reasonable accommodation. So that if something had to be dealt with and we needed quorum, we could make it happen. And regarding proxies, yeah, I don't think it's needed at this time. If we were a different structure, we're elected at large. We all represent the entire township, so it's not like if we elect or in wards and one ward member was away, that ward would be short represented around the council table. So I'm not interested in moving ahead with proxies at this time. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe Councillor Sapoulis captured it well. I'm not in support of the proxies either. However, I would like some leniency in the electronic delegation in that. I'm thinking if one of us is on vacation, and I'd rather have all or none. I'd rather be in council chambers. It's easier to run a meeting. However, but if you're away and we're dealing with something that's very important to the municipality as a whole, I would like some flexibility either through the CAO or the mayor to say, all right, we're gonna let X member join electronically, but I don't want it to be where, like Councillor Sapoulis is alluding to, that we're trying to run a meeting and it's interfering with it, and this is every week. That's a concern, but I do like the idea of being inclusive for specific situations. So you can have a report back on that, see what Mr. CEO comes up with. But the proxy, it sounds like we're not in favor of the proxy voting. And do you need any further direction, Mr. CEO?
Nope, that's it.
I believe council is comfortable with dealing with it all at once. Councillor Sapoulis?
Yes, I have a question that's unrelated to the report, but it deals with the COVID economic recovery. The Environmental Assessment Act is amended to require that landfill sites have the approval of the municipality before they be provided. And I'm wondering if that could, we could use that portion of the act when we encounter landfilling without our knowledge or without our consent. In other words, it's something we pass on to the Ministry of Environment to address.
Mr. CEO?
I don't know anything about that to comment on it. We'd have to look into that further, sorry.
I have a
If I-
question as well. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Bowman.
Yeah, I just had, well, we had on a broader couple of points regarding the procedural bylaw that we're looking at amending. Just a couple of things sprung to mind as I read through it. One is the municipal act change to also require councillors to provide written notice of conflict of interest. Our procedural bylaw still only says verbal. Didn't know if it was worthwhile to just put that in, identify that piece. And also we have updated our agenda format, and I wanted to make sure that our procedural bylaw sufficiently, represents that new agenda format too.
I believe it did, but we can double check that.
Okay, thanks.
Was the procedural bylaw not identified as needing updated, like a thorough updating? I know
Yep.
there's some committees that don't sit anymore. And,
Yeah, there's a
so
number of
it-
things that need to be updated in it for sure. So the last little while, we've just been making a few minor modifications here and there. So in terms of the resolution for this report, I think if we just keep it as is, and then the last paragraph, we just say not include amendments for proxy. The rest, we will just carry on as is, as presented.
Councilor Guida, you had a question?
Are we not, I guess I kind of got lost in that conversation a little bit, but did we decide on whether we would allow electronic delegations for during a state of emergency? So for instance, for our next meeting, are we considering allowing electronic delegations, or are we saying we're not going to allow it and we'll deal with it all at once?
Felt the latter. I thought there wasn't an urgent rush. We can have a quick discussion about that and just deal with it all at once. So do you have an opinion on that, Councilor Guida?
I mean, if it's not a whole amount of trouble to do it just during the state of emergency while we're having electronic council meetings anyways, I think it's worthwhile. But I guess I'm indifferent if the rest of council wants to just deal with it all at once.
Process-wise, what we could do, just in the event someone did want to be a electronic delegation at the next meeting, we could amend the section of the procedural bylaw right at the start of the next meeting, like do that as a first order of business, and then that would allow someone to do that. We could do that if you like, and then bring forward the rest of this stuff in time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do that.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
Anybody else have any comments on that? That looks good. All right, Ms. White Fox, can you read that? Oh, I wanted to ask the Director of Finance. This report touched on a lot about the community benefit charges, and we had correspondence months ago that they essentially promised us that the community benefits charge would be revenue neutral. And I keep watching all this rhetoric that comes out, and it's pretty thick, and I hope that you're able to understand it, because I'm not necessarily able to do that. But your gut feeling so far, these changes that the government is proposing, are they sticking to their word that the community benefits charge is going to be net neutral compared to our parkland dedication fee?
Mayor Sealy, you bring up a really good point. So I have actually been in a working group with the MFOA, Watson and Associates, and other municipalities. Bill, you're correct that Bill 197 does bring forward information about parkland dedication rates and the community benefits charge regime. So a lot of the municipalities are quite happy that the province is allowing municipalities to utilize the parkland dedication rates in accordance with Section 42 of the Planning Act. there's just more requirements as it relates to those now, as those bylaws are appealable to LPAT. And the other positive thing that's come out of Bill 197 is that municipalities no longer have to choose between Section 42 of the Planning Act and the community benefits charge regime. So, however, there are restrictions as to when community benefits charges may be imposed, and it's right now, Bill 197 indicates that they may not be imposed with respect to development of a proposed building or structure of fewer than 10 residential units or with fewer than 5 stories.
So that would mean residential is out? Rural residential?
Basically, the criteria that needs to be fulfilled in order to charge a community benefits charge is that it needs to be for an area that has more than 10 residential units and more than 5 stories.
So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can revert back to the parkland dedication fee, or we just don't get any money if John Doe severs a lot down in the middle of concession X, and it's one unit, you know.
Yeah. So our current parkland dedication bylaw still applies.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there'd be no development charges. We couldn't collect any development charges.
Okay.
We could get the parkland dedication, but we couldn't get the DC, any DCs.
Well, the development charge bylaw applies as well. We just couldn't get the community benefits charge.
Yes, I'm sorry, the community benefit charge, the new DC, yeah.
That's fine, but our parkland dedication, is it, I know Councillor Sapoulis was on council and I believe made the lead on that to get that increased significantly to help support our parks and infrastructure. So will it remain at that level that it was at?
Yeah, there's just more stringent requirements over that bylaw. I believe it needs to be updated every 5 years, and there needs to be a public consultation process, but yes, we're still able to utilize that.
I just want to keep my focus on that, because if things start to go sideways, I do what I do. I would get after them, but awesome. Thank you for that. All right. We have that resolution. Do we read it?
Not yet. I just wanted one clarification that I'm moving the second paragraph that talks about the delegation. I'm going to include it with the proposed amendments that we'll bring forward later, with the understanding that if we were to get a delegation come forward for next meeting, then we would address it if and when needed. Is that correct?
Correct. So we'll just do it as a first order of business on next council meeting if we have electronic delegation requests. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, so then the resolution reads that report ADM 2020-027 regarding Bill 197, the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act, be received, and that council directs staff to bring forward proposed amendments to procedure bylaw 59-08 as amended, specifically to section B13G, emergency meetings of council, and section B14M, electronic participation, and section B14 delegations for consideration and approval at a future council meeting, and that council directs staff to not include amendments to procedure bylaw 5908 as amended, specifically to enable proxy voting for consideration and approval at a future meeting.
Perfect. Can I get a mover for that, please?
I'll move it.
Councillor Spoulis, seconder. Councillor Bailey.
Yep.
All right, all in favor. Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis.
In favor?
Councillor Bailey.
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
All right, and I am as well. That's carried. All right, if you don't mind reading the next report, Mr. CAO. I guess we pretty much know what this is about. Is there any questions or comments on the proposed property standards bylaw as they've supplied this council meeting? Councillor Goida. Sorry, Mr. CAO, I cut you off there before you can even get started.
No questions.
Awesome. Councillor Spoulis.
No questions.
All right, let's get to the guy with all the questions. Councillor Bailey.
No, I'll wait for Councillor Bulmer.
Okay, and Councillor Bulmer, floor is yours.
I just want to thank staff and I appreciate their patience in getting this done. And as I came to realize, it's just in ink. And if there's an issue that comes up, I'm sure staff we'll bring it back to our attention to correct. So, but thank you so much for their hard work. And this has been a couple of years in process, and I'm sure staff would be so thrilled, especially Courtney, to get this off her desk. Thank you so much.
I want to echo that. Great work by staff. And you know, I was poking fun at Councillor Balmer, but I truly appreciate all the attributes each individual councillor brings to the table. And it's a good example of it is the parking bylaw, when, you know, I get emails from Councillor Balmer and he's right into the nuts and bolts and the definitions, and I'm over here thinking about this, and then, you know, so it's great to have all these different perspectives taking a look at this. And like he mentioned, it is just ink on paper. We can always fix it if something keeps arising and causing the community grief. So I think that's great. Unless Mr. CAO, did you want to talk about the parking bylaw at all one last time before we pass it?
I think we're on property standards right now still, right?
Yes.
Property
Yep.
standards.
Yep. No, I have
And
nothing to add. Just thanks for everyone's support and effort to make it what it is right now. Thank you.
excellent. All right, Ms. Whitefox, you want to read that resolution?
Report ADM 2020-028 regarding the proposed property standards bylaw be received, and that the existing property standards bylaws number 11-74, 37-89, 12-99 be repealed in their entirety, and that third reading be given to bylaw number 2020-010, being the property standards bylaw as amended.
Perfect. I'm going to move it for that.
I'll move it.
Councillor Spoulos, seconder. Councillor Balmer, you going to second it?
Yeah,
Okay.
You put a lot of work into it. All right, all in favor? Councillor Goida,
in favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey.
In favor?
All right, Councillor Balmer.
I guess I have to get new string for my weed eater, but yes, in favor.
You can go back to vacuuming your field again.
Yes.
I'm in favor. That's carried. Thank you, everyone. That's excellent. So then we'll talk about the proposed parking bylaw. So, all right, Councillor Goida, you're up first. Or you know what, Glenn, did you want to give a quick
I'll just start off a little bit. This is our first draft at it. We've put together with the assistance that involves staff, as well as the legal counsel that was retained to prepare it based on examples of other municipalities. So this is the first crack at it. We believe that we can do some refinements. I know there's been a number of questions and comments received from a number of members of council. So we're looking for some overall guidance and direction, and make sure all of you are on the same page, and then we can go and fine tune that. We just don't want to go, if someone had a concern about one thing, we go change it that way, but then maybe someone liked it like that. So we want you guys to be all on the same page, and then we can bring up refinements to a future meeting for you. Courtney, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or?
No, that pretty much covers it. Thanks.
All right, Councillor Goida.
Okay, so I understand there's been a number of questions and specific items on here, so I'll try and be brief and prioritize. For me, probably the most important clarification that I would like to see is under the definition of boulevard. I've read this definition numerous times, and I find it very confusing by the way it's written. And I'm really not sure still now when I read it, if the shoulder forms part of the boulevard or if it doesn't. And I'm also not sure, the way this is written, if the part which lies between the curb or edge of the traveled portion of the roadway and property line is part of the boulevard, or if it isn't. I'm thinking that the shoulder is not part of the boulevard and the other part is, but the way, just the language of how it's written is very confusing. So I'm not sure, Mr. CAO, if now is the appropriate time to answer that question, or if you just prefer that we sort of compile a list of comments and questions and that gets incorporated into the next round.
I think if we just compile all the questions right now, because we want to make sure that we give you the right answer. I don't know offhand to answer your question what's included and what isn't, so we want to make that, if it's not clear, we want to make it clear. So
okay. So my next question is more of a specific scenario, and it also relates to the boulevard. So as it's written right now, there's no stopping or parking permitted on a boulevard. But I'm curious how that gets handled where there's a paved boulevard with the curbs cut out to allow vehicles on and off. So I'm not sure if many of you are familiar that this is the exact setup as it is in the village of Arkell and also in many parts in Morriston as well. And further to that, as it's written right now, there's no stopping or parking permitted on Calfus Road between Highway 6 and Concession 7. However, between Highway 6 and Victoria Street, there exists this same sort of paved boulevard that I'm speaking of. In both Arkell and Morriston, these paved boulevards, they serve as a place to park for people. In Arkell, for instance, that's where people park to go to church. It's where people park where they want to visit these hamlets, and it has been an objective of council to encourage having a walkable, shoppable destination. So it would, to me, seem appropriate that we would allow parking on those paved boulevards to permit this type of culture. And my last question, which I'm not sure if it's answered in here at all, is whether this bylaw would apply to roads that exist in vacant land condos, such as like places like Heritage Lake, or if those are governed directly by the condo, and also how this applies to unassumed roads such as Rhodes Road. And those are the bulk of my sort of questions and comments as it relates to this bylaw.
Okay, thank you. We will
Thank
note
you.
those and address those in a future report.
Councillor Swillis?
Yes, one is a suggestion that the definition of emergency vehicle be tied to the Ontario Highway Traffic Act to make it consistent, and that Ontario Traffic Highway Act rather has a lot of emergency vehicles that are vehicles that are considered emergency. Second question has Schedule A. Is this the same schedule that's in the current parking bylaw, or has it been amended to include some other locations?
Offhand, I do not know. Courtney?
Schedule A being the schedule to identify no parking areas, correct?
Correct.
Yes, it has been amended from the previous bylaw based on community feedback and staff recommendation on that feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I just had one comment. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but under the definition of highway, I don't actually see the word road. I don't know if that was intentional or an oversight. I would think a highway would include a road.
Yes.
Also, I'm just thinking of a scenario. We have a lot of tracks in the township where we can walk through, through the forest, but there's no parking in front. I understand that that's probably different jurisdiction, but I didn't know if the township had a way of allowing someone to park to use the track through the woods. Didn't know if this was where maybe that could come up, because anyone that wants to walk is not parking legally. So, but we want to encourage people to get out and walk on the track. So I don't know where that jurisdiction comes in.
I can speak to that one quickly. The challenge that we've got, we actually get quite a few complaints at the office of people who are parking by the entrances to those tracks because of the no parking zone. Roads are so narrow there isn't the space there. It's a safety hazard for the people out walking beside the cars, people who live there, people trying to get out of their own driveways when everyone's parked there. So to this point, no, we specifically have not included it just because of the safety concerns and the physical limitations of those locations.
Right. So down the road, maybe we need to figure out how to make that work.
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah. the other term, again, I didn't go through this with a fine tooth comb, but loading zones. So where you're allowed, like I see where we're not allowed to do a lot of stuff. Usually a bylaw is what you can't do, you can't do, you can't do. I would like to see what you can do. Where can I pull up, drop my, kid off at the preschool and move on without having to park? Or where can I, where are the loading zones that we're allowed to pull up in front of, run into a store, like Councillor Goyda is talking about. Anyway, just a perspective change.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ballmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I kind of grouped my questions into 4 broad themes. Number 1 would be consistency or compatibility with the definitions of ours are compatible or consistent with the definitions in the county bylaw, which I think is particularly important in places like Arkell, Morris, and Aberfoyle, where we have both county and township roads. So we want to make sure that a boulevard on one street in Arkell is the same as a boulevard on the same road past the intersection, or definition of a highway is the same. So there's no gaps. And so or definition of a vehicle, those sorts of things have some consistency. So the applicability is also even. So, and same also in definitions, second theme would be make sure that the definitions work together. It's already mentioned before the concerns about the definition of boulevard. One of the confusing pieces of that definition is that it's defined as existing as part of the roadway. But if the roadway exists between the 2 shoulders, the definition of roadway says it's between the 2 shoulders. And the definition of the boulevard says it's beyond the road edge. We've got definitions that say the boulevard is both on the road and outside the road. And these sort of inconsistencies, I think, need to be cleaned up, and probably leading to some of the confusion that, as Councillor Goyda picked up, about what's a boulevard, what's a paved shoulder. I mean, the county's definition of boulevard is pretty good that way, as is the county's definition of highway, as Councillor Bailey picked up. The definition of highway doesn't include a road. The specificity of that definition suggests that every type of road that it applies to is listed there, but it doesn't say side road, concession road. But the county's does talk about everything between the boundaries of the property line, which captures everything. So some combing through the definitions to make sure they work together would be good. Conflicting and confusing requirements. We've talked a bit about that. Other members have talked a bit about that. One of them that I noticed in particular had to do with parking on the right side of the road, and that the wheels had to be within 0.3 meters of the edge of the road. Not clear if that means it has to be 0.3 meters on the shoulder or 0.3 meters on the pavement. Does that mean if the shoulder is wider, you can't pull farther off the road? They have to park with a portion of the car, the majority of the car on the road. It creates an unclear understanding of how someone is to park. It also, there's a subsections there that refer to sections I couldn't find. The subsections refer to sections, I think it's 5.7, which didn't exist. And some of them refer to these requirements applying to the left-hand side of the road as well on a one-way street. Does that mean that I have to have the right-hand side of my wheels within a foot of the left-hand edge of the road, which would put me facing the wrong way on the road? Some of these things just need to have a comb pass through them to make sure they're all pointing in the same direction. The last piece would be ground proofing it for local conditions, the language, the words. For example, I mean, Councillor Goyda already mentioned situations in Arkell. We have a super mailbox in Arkell. I realize that's on a county road, and so ours may not apply on the county road. It'd be nice to know if ours apply in the hamlets, or if the county roads things apply in the hamlets. But getting back to the issue of super mailboxes, is there anything in this bylaw that would would prevent people from stopping or parking to get their mail at a super mailbox in the township. I want to make sure we have several locations of those. I want to make sure those still work. There's also some language in there regarding fire hydrants. And I want to make sure that the fact that we use water reservoirs with dry hydrants instead of fire hydrants is somehow understood as the same thing, because fire hydrant isn't defined. And while it may be broadly understood by our fire department as being the same thing, would someone who fought a ticket be able to get off because, well, that's not actually a fire hydrant, that's a dry hydrant. And those aren't, if we meant dry hydrant, we would have said dry hydrant. So those are kind of things. The one last piece, if we're going to talk about additional places, I would like staff to consider the section of Watson Road north of 34 that is currently has a speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour, up over the hill in the double S bend there. It's not uncommon to have cars parked at the top of that hill where they can get cell reception. And then when vehicles come around going northbound, they swing out into the southbound lane to avoid the car that's parked on the side of the road. I've had phone calls from the residents who live up there who are very concerned about it, but the police have always said without it being signed, they can't enforce the no parking there. So if I could ask that one to be considered for the next draft, that'd be great. So those are my succinct comments, as succinct as they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bulmer. My request is more about specifics. I am sympathetic with Councillor Goyda. I've used those aprons to stop to purchase from local businesses in Arkle, and I don't believe our intent is to not allow that. So some clarification there would be great, and you know, and that's in Morrison as well. Because I was trying to read it and understand it, the way it's written, I'm not sure that in Curry and Ox Drive and in Morriston, if you'd be able to just park on the road. So I know on the west side of Highway 6 South, Helper Glen and the other Settlers Court are all marked no parking. So I'd like that extended into the other side of the road. People will park there and unload their dirt bikes and drive in. It's close enough that it's problematic, and those properties are large enough. They have, you know, we've been having commercial vehicles park on the road, and so it's a bit problematic. The other concern I have is the Old Brock Road is a no stopping zone. So I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to drive down Old Brock Road recently, but there's been a significant change. All the sidewalks are in for the school. And it looks fantastic. Very appreciative of all the work Director of Public Works put into getting that project going and making sure it's ready for school if school goes in September. However, what I can say to you is when I was canvassing the homeowners there about the potential for the sidewalk, the parking came up, and they didn't want a complete prohibition of parking, even though they have some larger driveways. You know, and I felt a prohibition during the school bus times, morning pickup and evening pickup through the week, Monday to Friday, was sufficient, because it also helps those small businesses be able to, until Councillor Sapoulis and I are, well, this whole council are successful in lobbying the county to change the lane configuration of Aberfoyle to help support those businesses, we need these side streets with some parking. So I'd like to see that no stopping that is proposed for Old Brock changed, just to be in conjunction with the school bus pickup and drop offs, because that's the message that was relayed to those residents when we got them on board to support the sidewalk and not be opposed to it. But that's just my comments. What, Council, are you comfortable with that change? Councilor Goyda? Absent. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yes, I'm okay with bringing all of. Pardon me?
Nothing. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with bringing all of the things that we've talked about back on another round, and I think all of those things will just make it better.
Okay. Councilor Sapoulis, any further comments?
No, I agree with Councillor Goyda.
Okay. Councilor Bailey, any further comments?
No.
All right. Councilor Bulmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I agree with your comments regarding Old Brock Road, and I think that's consistent with, you know, groundproofing the wording that's in there now to make sure that it works for how our residents currently use the roads that aren't a problem, but it also addresses the issues we're trying to address it without inadvertently capturing things we don't want to interfere with. So, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Whitefox, do you have a resolution for that?
That report ADM 2020-029 regarding the proposed parking bylaw be received for information, and that council direct staff to bring back a report and amended draft bylaw to include council's recommendations and suggestions for consideration at a future meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a mover on that, please? Councillor Goida, seconder. Councillor Bailey, all in favor. Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
Favor.
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor. That's carried. Thank you. Mr. CEO, did you want to discuss this NSERC agreement?
Sure, it's pretty straightforward. We have an agreement in place already with the University of Guelph to undertake this research. This is just an agreement through the funding agency that University of Guelph is using. They want to be certain that we agree for a longer term, what's identified in the report with the work undergoing, so they can transfer the funds to the university. Pretty straightforward.
Yep. Okay, comments? Councillor Goida.
No comments.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos,
I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Bailey,
No comment.
Councillor Bulmer.
Makes sense.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Whitefox, you want to read that resolution, please?
That report ADM 2020-030 regarding the NSERC agreement be received for information, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the township.
All right, and I'll get all in favor. Councillor
Oh, sorry, we just need
Sorry.
a
Movers. Sorry. Where are we? Need movers, sorry.
mover and a seconder first, yes.
Sorry. So mover and seconder, I did that.
I'll move.
Thanks, Councillor Bulmer. Seconder, Councillor
One second.
Bailey. All right, now here we go. All in favor. Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
Favor.
All right, I'm in favor. That's carried. It's a bit of a merry-go-round because I have to just keep circling my screen because I'm talking. All right, so now we have the amended 2020 council meeting schedule. Let's go straight to comments. Unless Mr. CEO, actually, did you want to discuss it slightly?
No, I've got nothing to add.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. So any questions or comments, just raise your hand, speak up. No? All right, I'll get the resolution read out, please, Ms. Whitefox.
That report ADM 2020-031 regarding amended 2020 council meeting schedule be received, and that the Township of Porcelain Council approve the amended 2020 council meeting schedule.
All right, mover, please. Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Bailey. All in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
Favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. All right. We have Planning and Building Department. Who would like to, well, it's pretty straightforward, but maybe I'll have you read the resolution, Ms. Whitefox.
That report PD 2020-004 regarding preliminary acceptance of underground servicing, primary roadworks and landscaping for DRS Developments Limited be received, and that the township staff issues a certificate of preliminary acceptance in accordance with report PD 2020-004.
All right, can I get a mover, please? Councillor Spoulos, seconder.
I will.
Councillor Goida, all right. Any questions or comments on that one? Pretty straightforward staff report. Anybody have anything? No, good. All right, all in favor? Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. Thank you. All right, so we have the Roads and Parks Department. We have the capital project update. Does Mr. Fowler want to give us a brief update on our capital project? I'm off guard.
Yes, sir. So currently, we are in the final stages, a couple kilometers of line painting left, and our stretch of Watson Road from 34 to McLean Station Road will be completed. So that will, along with concession 1, summarize this year's capital paving works. Regarding parks, the Old Morriston washrooms have been refurbished. We are currently waiting on one fixture to be installed in the men's washrooms, and that will be wrapped up and completed. And other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. What I can say is I've driven both of those roads a few times recently and they look excellent. Great work. Councillor Goida.
Yeah, I would agree. I just drove on Watson Road this morning and it's beautiful. I'm glad to see that these other projects, I know that it's somewhat frustrating that there's been some delays, but I'm glad to see that the bridge and the soccer field are going forward. And I think we look forward to seeing both of those.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos.
I too look forward to having those two projects completed and moving forward as well. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bailey.
No, roads look great.
Councillor Ballmer.
Thank you. No comments other than thank you.
All right. And you have a resolution for that one, Ms. Whitefox?
That report PW-2020-006 regarding capital project update Moyers Bridge and soccer field be received for information.
Who's going to move for that, please? Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Spoulos. All in favor? Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos.
Favor?
Councillor Bailey.
Favor?
Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor. That's carried. Nothing. Correspondence. So any questions or comments on the correspondence from Watson Associates? Economic letter to clients. All right. Any comments, Councillor Goida? Do we own?
No comments.
All right, Councillor Spoulos.
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
All right, Councillor Bailey.
No.
Councillor Ballmer.
Nothing, thank you.
Excellent. All right, Ms. Whitefox, it says there's a resolution for that one, so if you want to read it, please.
That Watson and Associates Economics Ltd. Letter to clients regarding COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act 2020 changes to the Development Charges Act and the Planning Act as per the Community Benefits Charge be received for information.
All right, can I get a mover for that, please?
Nerval.
Councillor Goida, seconded by Councillor Spoulos. All in favor, Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos.
In favor?
Councillor Bailey.
In favor?
Councillor Ballmer.
Favor.
And in favor as well. That's carried. All right. Into council reports. So we're going to do a little mayor's update here. I received an email recently from an individual living on Victoria Road, and I didn't forward it to council yet because I didn't ask for permission to be able to share it. So I'll just give you a synopsis of it, and I've witnessed it myself. Is with the construction on Brock Road, there's additional heavy truck traffic coming down Victoria south from Maltby, and that's marked no heavy truck route. And they're asking for any mitigation efforts we can do. And I travel that way to work, and I've shook my finger at a few transport trucks, and whether they're lost, I get it, but I would like council to agree to just write the City of Guelph asking for some additional enforcement for heavy trucks. They're not supposed to be traveling south of Clare Road. And once they get to Victoria and Maltby, they really don't have anywhere good to go. Either have to go around the pond or they got to drive on the gravel road. So really need to be intercepted at Clare Road so they get the message to head that way and head down Brock or over to the Hannon, preferably. So I'm just hoping if council's okay with that, we just write a letter to the appropriate member of either Guelph Police or the City of Guelph requesting additional enforcement for Guelph Police Service on Victoria Road south of Clare Road. So Councillor Goida?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Councillor Spoulos?
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. Councillor Ballmer?
Yeah, I support that. I completely understand. We have the same problem here on Watson Road, so perhaps we could include a letter to the Township of Puslinch and have them ask the County OPP to provide some additional enforcement on Watson Road as well.
Okay, I'll talk to Paul.
I know, but so I recognize the pain. When they come screaming down the hill here on Watson Road, it's not easy to take. So I understand they get a good straight run on Victoria Road as well. I'm sure that That's not great for the residents on Victoria Road, especially the new asphalt we put on just south of 34.
Mhm. So, other than that, and I already spoke about the sidewalks in front of Aberfoyle School. Pretty excited. The retaining wall's in. It looks fantastic. I hope it helps make it a little safer for students to walk to the school if they're going. I assume everybody's going to school in September, but we don't know yet. It'll be up to the individual parents, but just great progress in our community. I'm really happy for that. That's all I have. If any members of council have some verbal updates, or Councillor Goyda, do you have anything?
No, I don't have any.
Anything? Councillor Spoulis?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bailey?
I don't right now.
Okay. Councillor Bulmer, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. All right. Bylaws. Ms. White Fox.
Okay, so I've removed the parking bylaw as directed, so it's just our property standards bylaw. So
Okay.
the bylaws number 11, 74, 3789, 12-99 be repealed in their entirety and replaced with bylaw 2020-010, being a bylaw prescribing standards for the maintenance and occupancy of property as amended, and that bylaw 2020-010 as amended be taken as read a third time and finally passed in open council.
All right. Can I get a mover for that, please?
Okay.
Councillor Goyda, and then seconder Councillor Spoulis. And all in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer.
Favor.
All right, and I'm in favor as well. That's carried. All right. I believe we are going into closed session now. Is that correct, Ms. White Fox?
Yes, I have a resolution to go into closed.
Okay.
That council should go into closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of 13.1, adoption or receipt of minutes of the previous closed meeting, June 17th, 2020 and July 15th, 2020. 13.2, confidential report PW-2020-005 from Lynn Banks, Development and Legislative Coordinator regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, disposition of road allowance. 13.3, confidential report PW 2020-007 from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk, regarding the security of property of the municipality or local board as it relates to Pussonage Lake Road allowance. 13.4, confidential verbal report from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk, regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. 13.5, confidential verbal report from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk, regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose with respect to seasonal trailer parks. And 13.6, confidential report ADM 2020-032 from Glenn Schwendinger, CAO Clerk, regarding personal matters about an unidentified individual, including municipal or local board employees, relating to the organization review.
All right, can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Spoulis, seconder, Councillor Bulmer.
Yep.
All right, all in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis,
Favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
I'm in favor, that's carried. Thank you to everyone who joined us from the gallery. We appreciate it. Have a great day.